This is the Infinite Receiving Podcast, helping conscious leaders like you tap into a wealth of abundance across all areas of your life and business. My name is Susie Ashworth. I am a single mom of 3 and author of the Sunday Times best-selling book, Infinite Receiving. Crack the code to conscious wealth creation and finally manifest your dream life. On this show, I'll be sharing with you how you can upgrade your identity and your reality to create the life that you have been dreaming of. Because you are ready to be an infinite receiver. Hello, you gorgeous, gorgeous human being. It is Susie Ashworth here, and you are listening to the Infinite Receiving Podcast. And I am so excited to be in your earbuds. I am feeling fresh, I'm feeling spacious, and I'm feeling ready to just get right on into it, if I'm honest. And this episode, it might be a little bit of a niche one. However, because I have been asked this question twice in about the last 3 weeks from peers of mine, I thought that it would be a really good thing to share my thoughts on with you guys. Because if you're listening to this podcast, it is because you recognize that there is a message within you that the world needs to hear. Like, you're not listening to this simply because you desire to receive more. Or maybe you are. And if that is the case, what I want you to understand is that there is something called the give and receive cycle. I learned this from my friend and mentor, Regan Hillier, many years ago. And the give and receive cycle is simply about honoring the fact that when you give abundantly, frequently, consistently, when you are helping people, that the energy that you put out will inevitably come back to you. It won't always come back in a straight 1-for-1 example. You could be giving over here with the left hand, and what you receive enters in from stage right. That is okay. But the more you give out, the more you are stacking the odds in your favor that you are going to be able to receive. And I say stacking the odds in your favor. And even though I've used the word inevitable, I want to say it's not guaranteed, because you have to do the work to allow yourself, to give yourself permission to receive. It was so interesting. I was on a call with a client earlier on today, and she shared with me how she had made the same amount, almost the same amount, in the 6 months that we've been working with each other as she did for the whole of the previous year. And I was losing my shit about it. I was so excited. And I was talking about the fact that she'd been asking me, how do I have 100K months? And I was like, this is it, because you haven't done more, but you have allowed yourself to come from a different level of energy. We've taken stuff away. We've increased your prices. You've done things that you have never done before. And that has enabled you to achieve twice as much in half the amount of time. That's fucking exciting. This is a big deal. And as I am talking, I can see her getting more and more and more uncomfortable in her skin. And a little bit later, she just said that, as she was saying all of that, this is what was going on in my head. And she just shared how she didn't feel like my level of excitement warranted the amount of cash that she had earned. It wasn't good enough yet. And I was like, that is exactly the thing that will slow you down and fuck you up. Like, it is that. When it comes to how you cross the 100K month threshold, it isn't going to be about what it is that you are doing that makes the most difference. We already know what it is that you need to do. You need to sell 100K's worth of product. And we get to do that in the easiest way possible. It's going to be selling one-to-many and or having high ticket offers, because that's the model that she's working with. So we know what it is that you need to do, but it is that energy of allowing and permission to receive more. So the more value that you give out as long as you are in the space of allowing yourself to receive the equal and opposite back, you can't lose. And that's the work. Anyway, this is why I'm coming to the call feeling pumped and excited, but it isn't what I want to talk to you about today. What I want to talk to you about today is you and your message and the desire, which may be front of mind or something that you're saying that you're going to do in 2, 3, 5 years' time, to write a book. And, being a double Hay House author, I have some opinions about book writing. And one of the things that I love about being part of the Hay House family is that they have really invested in their author education. So, really supporting you in understanding the business of books. And then combine that with my own desire to learn about the business of books and setting a really clear intention that my wish is that by the time we get to February of next year, I will have sold more books in year two than what I did in year one. So, in order to do this, I've had to understand about the mechanics of writing a book. And I have in the past shared like some of my tips on what it is you need to do or be thinking about in order to have a best selling book. But today I want to focus on like the one question, and there's little tendrils that come off of this one question, but the one question that you have to ask yourself before you start writing. And this is really, really important. So let me share with you the question that people have been asking me is how did you get into Hay House? And or what is your recommendation when it comes to a traditional publisher versus self-publishing versus hybrid publishing? And the answer comes down to this one thing that you need to be asking yourself before you start the writing process, because it will impact everything that you do when it comes to your book. It will impact the title of your book. It will impact the way that you structure the book. It will impact your book cover, and it will impact the decision that you make when it comes to the distribution of the book. And that question, drum roll, is what is your objective? What is the number one objective you have when it comes to writing the book? And I absolutely know without any shadow of a doubt that if you answer that question and then keep the answer to that question front of mind, you will create completely different books. You will create completely different books based on the answer to that question. Most people don't think about it. Most people, when I ask them that question, will say to me, I hadn't really thought about it. I would say, what is a key objective? Is it that you want to build authority? Is it that you want to be, seen as a thought leader? Or is it that you want to sell more of a specific course? Or is it that you just want more clients in general? Why is this important? Because it is going to change how you write your content. So, if you want to sell 1 million copies, when people are like, they're thinking about writing a book, they're thinking about people like Mel Robbins, they're thinking about James Clear and Atomic Habits, they're thinking about these epic, massive books. It's a bit like doing a TEDx talk. If you want to write a book like that, it absolutely makes sense for you to go down the traditional publishing route. Why? Distribution. One word, the D word, and that is distribution. They can help you get on to the shelves of Barnes and Noble and WH Smith's or Waterstones or whatever the main bookseller is in your country. That is what a traditional publisher can help you do. It is very, very difficult to do that as a self-published book. I'm not even sure that it is possible as a self-published book to get on the store shelves and be stocked in multiple locations as a self-published book. Don't quote me on that. I don't know whether it is impossible, but I'm not sure that it is. I don't know any self-published book that has the type of impact of those that, the 4-hour work week and those huge books that we are talking about that do not have a traditional publisher. And it's about platform, it's about marketing budget, it's about the pre-launch support that you get if a publisher believes that you can sell not even 1,000,000 copies, but 100,000 copies. 100,000 copies at pre-launch, you are going to get a lot of support, and that is what a traditional publisher can give you. If you are somebody that they don't think can sell 100,000 copies, the type of support that you're going to get from a traditional publisher is not that exciting. Don't shoot the messenger. People who think going to a traditional publisher means that you're going to get all of the marketing, you're going to get all of the PR, you're going to be really well held from a promotion perspective. Unfortunately, that budget goes to the people that are going to make them a shitload of money. So, this is the other thing that you have to realize when it comes to writing a book is that you very rarely, unless you're somebody with a huge platform, and when I say huge, I'm talking, a minimum of 100,000 on a social media platform. You might be able to get away with talking about a combined audience of 100,000, but what they are looking for are those vanity metrics and an engaged audience. They're looking for, if we invest in this person, do they have an audience that are going to not only pay for the cost of the book, to publish it, to edit it, for you to do your Audible, but are actually going to make us money? And so that the way that the contracts are designed is that as an author, you are making little to no money on the front end unless you have bagged yourself a six-figure deal for promoting. And that is about being able to demonstrate you have an audience of people, or you have a plan to activate an audience of people that are going to pay for your advance. So, one of the first things that I say to people when they are like, oh, I'm looking to build my brand, I'm looking for authority, I'm looking to become a thought leader, what's the deal with Hay House? What's the deal with getting an agent? I'm like, unless you can really demonstrate that you can sell a lot of copies, they won't really even look at you at this stage in the game. I think that based on my audience back in 2000, and I think it was 16, that the Calm Birth School by Hay House came out, the Calm Birth Method. Even though it was niche, so if you have a very niche subject, there is definitely more leeway. But I think if I was going to them with it now, they'd be like, no, your audience isn't big enough. That's what I think. And don't get me wrong, they definitely do take on new authors. They definitely do publish people that have small audiences. But with Hay House specifically, there is a process. It's called the Writer's Workshop. And that is about discovering new authors with great ideas that they want to support. Like, that's their way of giving back. I don't know if the big five publishers have similar initiatives. Maybe they do. And that would be a way of getting your foot in the door if you don't have a big audience to start with. So let's just say that you have been diligently behind the scenes building an email list where you've got a big social media following, and you're like, this is what it is that I want to do. I want to go big. I want to go broad. I want to go mass market. Great. The name of your book has to speak to the mass market. Atomic habits. Everybody is obsessed with habits. The let them theory. How to just stay chilled. 5-second rule. These are, whilst they're personal development books, they are covering topics that everybody, in inverted commas, has some desire to work out. They also have very simple systems that are really sticky because they are simple that people can pass on to their friends. It's like with the let them theory, you can read the main message of the book within less than 10 minutes. And yet there's a whole book on it. I'm sure there'll be a course at some point. It's the fastest growing book in history. I'm not sure whether that's by a female or not, but I mean, it is just huge. Why? It's sticky and it's simple. Fast like a girl is niche. Fasting is niche, but it is also specific. It's specific in the fact that 99.9, if not every other fasting book, was based on a man's need for fasting. So there was a audience for this. We know that fasting is fashionable and we make it specific and say that it's for women and then create a system that is easy to follow. And actually, is the system easy to follow? It's pretty easy the way that she has broken it down and it gets people results. So it's not the type of system that you can say do this, 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 and this, but you can say, look, she starts off with a 30-day reset, and actually you're only fasting for 13 hours a day. Actually, she says that you can eat what you want pretty much, but you've got a list of all of the foods that are not conducive for you getting the results that you want. And it helps you with weight loss, it helps you with skin, it helps you with the perimenopause, it helps you with the menopause, it helps you with all of these things. So people can say, I've got this problem, the book can help me with that. I've got this specific problem and the book can help me with that. She names them. So the system has to be simple. The title of the book, it needs to be really easy to understand if you are going for a mass market. There needs to be no explanation of how the book is going to help you. Somebody needs to be able to look at the cover and the title on Amazon and say, I want that, I need that, let's do that. And then the other piece of advice, which I might have mentioned in the previous episode around the title, is that for really sticky books that proliferate internationally, there needs to be, or there gets to be some kind of pride that the person has when they're sat on the tube and holding the book up. They need to want to be part of the club that you are creating. And when you create that, when people aren't hiding the book, I always think about one of my dear friends, her book is called Pussy. And I remember when I got that book and I loved it. It absolutely changed my life. But did I necessarily want people to be able to see that I was reading it on the tube? Not really. Not really. I mean, that book has sold a lot of copies, by the way, because the content in it is so incredible. And it's just really worth thinking about. If your book title is using proprietary language, you are then massively reducing the number of people who are going to understand what it is that the book is about without needing some explanation, which will reduce your book sales. So these are the key things that you are going to be thinking about. Super simple systems that are easy to implement. Do this, 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 and this, and you're going to get that result. And the result has to be something that they want. That is the type of book that is going to find its hands into many, 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 many people's. A book like the Gene Keys, for example, is a complicated system. However, it has a very niche market in the personal development world, and it has still sold many, many copies, many, many, many hundreds of thousands of copies, because there's a truth in that book that resonates with people, and then people have passed it on, they've spoken about it, and all of that good stuff. Where the money is made is on the personalization of the information of the book in the Gene Keys course, which is still relatively inexpensive, but it is more expensive than the book. So, what's happening on the back end? Is it really obvious? It's less important, by the way, with a mainstream book, the back end piece, because that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for people to share with their friends. So you're providing a complete system. If you are wanting to sell your course or your program, the way that you structure the book is completely different. And what you are going to do with the book when you're wanting to sell a specific course or program is to tell people the what they need to do and the why that they need to do it, and even to a certain extent, the how. However, you want to make it clear that the people who get the best results, the people that come to work with you, and this isn't said in a one off call to action. This is shared throughout the book. What is also shared throughout the book is an ability to capture their email address. So, providing bonuses and things that people want to opt into that are going to enhance the experience of the book becomes really important if you're looking to sell courses and product, because they might not necessarily buy straight away from reading the book, but they will buy after they have received 52 emails from you because they're on your email list and you email every single week. They will buy if, something like the 12-week year niche book sold many, many copies, but you have the 12-week year program. Now, the program is offering accountability. And I think that it probably does go a little bit deeper, although they don't make a point of saying that in the book, which suggests to me that the course was more of an afterthought. Otherwise, they would make more of how much more support there is or why people should give their email list. They would talk more about the power of the community. And so this is a very, very different approach to the mainstream book. The mainstream book is providing the whole picture and you don't feel like there's anything missing. Whereas the business book that is selling a course or a program, even though you might be providing the whole system, there is a very clear knowledge gap, which might come in the shape of implementation. It might come in the shape of accountability, or it might come in the shape of there's only so much that I can share with you in this book. You need to do X, Y, and Z. But if you want help with understanding how to personalize this for you, because everybody's program or approach should be slightly different, then this is where you book a call with my assistant. And you might have a call to action every couple of chapters. If you look at a book like $100 million offers, there are calls to action throughout the entire book. It might be every single chapter because it's a business book. Now, admittedly, with $100 million offers at the time, Alex Hormozy would say, I'm not selling anything. I've got nothing to sell. Now he absolutely does sell coaching and he is looking for companies to invest in. And the book and selling, I think he sold 1 million copies of $100 million offers. So self published, sold 1 million copies. He won't ever make it onto the bestseller list because it's self published, but that's irrelevant. He doesn't want bestseller list. What he wants are people on his email list so he can segment and sell the different products that he has available on there too. And find the top 1% of companies who are impressed by the fact that he, as a self published author, has sold 1 million copies. And how do I do that too? So he is one of the exceptions to the rule. It is not common that you are able to do that as an entrepreneur. But how he has done that is becoming a master of leverage through his social media, creating viral content, getting his work in front of many, many eyeballs. This is what people want a publisher to do for them. And I suppose if you get onto a prime time TV show, it's still not going to be as effective as what it was 10 years ago, but that's where you'll get extra eyeballs. If you get into some key publications, that's where you will get extra eyeballs. But The whole of media has been democratized. So you can do that through a podcast tour. You can do that through a YouTube tour. You don't need a publisher. You can do that yourself and be in control of how you invite people to get a copy of your book. And whilst this doesn't work, according to Reed Tracy, who is the CEO of Hay House, it doesn't work as effectively as what it did 5 years ago. I'm thinking about somebody like Russell Brunson with his book funnel. You get the book for free and you pay for postage and packaging. It's still, you are 100% in control. So for me, when I do my book funnel, so you can get the book for free, you pay for postage and packaging, it costs me more because I have to buy my book from my publishers. It would not cost as much if I had self-published. So it doesn't really matter because I'm not looking to make money on the selling of the books, but I'm wanting to make the distinction for you. I think the other things that you get to think about is that when you decide to self-publish a book, you can have it out to market within, as quickly as you can write it. It can be out within 90 days. If you go through a traditional publishing route, your idea, as fresh as it might take a year and a half to get out onto the shelves. So there is a middle ground here, and that is with hybrid publishing, where they have some ability to help you with distribution in a way that you couldn't access if you were completely self published. And yet you still retain way more control than what you would do if you were going down the traditional publishing route. However, you still have to share your, in inverted commas, profits because of the work that they do to support you with distribution. I don't know a huge amount about hybrid publishing, so I'm not going to speak on it as though I do. But what I do know is that if I didn't have the relationship that I have with Hay House, I would absolutely self publish my next books. And how I got my deal with Hay House was actually by self publishing the first book. Self publishing, putting it through a whole launch system, and them seeing the launch and being like, oh my goodness, we really want to book on hypnobirthing. Do you want to come in and have a chat? I personally feel that my recommendation to 99.9% of people is to self publish first. Demonstrate to them through your own marketing nous, which, again, if you don't have a big audience, you're going to have to do it all yourself anyway. Demonstrate to them that you have got people who will buy your book, or how to market your book in such a way that you're able to sell, thousands of copies without any support, and take that as part of your pitch. It gives you more leverage. You'll be way more likely to get a deal, even if you don't have a big audience, if you've demonstrated that you can sell copies. I would be even as bold to ask them, how many copies would I, as an individual person, need to sell in order for you to take me seriously and think about us working together? That would be a really great question. And then you have a goal, which I personally believe, because you are way more in control, you're more likely to hit on your own than what you would with a publisher anyway, in the first instance. Unless, as I say, you have got a big audience and they are open and willing to putting a significant amount of budget behind helping you in the pre-launch phase. So this is my take. I hope that you have found this super useful. I think everybody should write a book. I think that it is super incredible for your business. I'm so proud of the fact that I have Infinite Receiving, which really feels like my life's work. It is my life's practice still. And I know that you have a message in you that is worthy of other people reading and consuming and changing their lives with. So even if you don't know it yet, I do, and I want you to do it. So when it comes to it, let's be strategic about the way that you approach writing it and go for it. Okay, this is it for me. If this has been helpful, do me a favor, could you leave me a review? Just go on to Apple iTunes and just tell me what you think. And it always means a lot when you let me know that you're listening. Just tag me on Insta and let's get the word out there. And in the meantime, I look forward to being in your earbuds next time. And please remember that faith plus action equals miracles.
Thank you for listening to Infinite Receiving with me, Susie Ashworth. I'd love to share with you my Infinite Receiving activation audio. Go to susieashworth.com/activate infinite receiving.